Welcome out to the show tonight, guys. It's Studio 321, your host, Eddie B. So first of all, guys, I'd like to welcome myself back to the show. I took about a week off. Sometimes, man, you got to take a break from this stuff. It takes you down these rabbit holes, and yeah, it'll start driving you crazy, man. So, welcome back, Eddie, and let's get to it. So there's a ton of stuff going on in the country, but look, you got to zoom out and look at it all. It's really actually the same stuff's going on all around the world. So tonight's show is about globalism, and I'm saying globalism is on fire and it's dying rapidly. So, now follow me on this. What you've got right now, you've got all the unrest in America, but the truth is this isn't uncommon right now. If you look all around the world and you zoom out and look at everything that's going on everywhere, okay? You got riots in England, you got riots in Ireland, you got, and it's all based on immigration type stuff, but really, it's really just, it's actually the bigger picture of all this is globalism, okay? And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that. But remember, guys, hit the subscribe and like button. Please subscribe to my channel. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Every time I do a video, it's going to pop up in your feed. Help spread the channel. Help spread the word. So I'm going to take you back on a little bit on this. So I think I was about 20, 21 years old. I remember sitting on my front porch with my brother and a couple friends one time, and it was late night and we're all just talking spooky stuff. And my brother was going on about, the idea of the UN and how they were going to have a global world order and that there was going to be foreigners policing on American soil and, the UN was going to control everything. And now this was going back 30 years, And, we all talked about it. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, nah, are they really trying that? I don't think it'll happen. But the truth is, they did try it, and it had been happening up until now. Okay? Now, if you look at the globalism and you look at like what they're trying to do, you'd kind of ask yourself, well, why would they do that? Okay? But you have to understand, the leaders of the world, and in our country as well, there's groups that are super power hungry. And what they want to do is, they're already in control in the United States. They want to control things around the world as well, okay? And to be honest, if you really look at it, it's not much different than Hitler's plan. Hitler's plan was to take over the world militarily and then control the entire world from this, it's going to be like a super capital city in Germany. That's what his plan was. And honestly, the leaders of this global idea, it was the same idea, but I think they realized that they weren't going to be able to do it militarily. So what it was is it was an economic order, okay? And how do you do that? Well, okay, let's say the United States wanted to be the head of this entire global order, which was the plan, okay? United States and European leaders. What you have to do is you have to break each culture apart. You have to separate them from their national pride. You have to take away their individualism, because that's what separates countries. Like me, I'm an American. I feel like an American. I want to be American. I have pride in the flag, pride in the country. Well, when it comes to globalism, that's bad, okay? Because what that means is I will defend my country and my flag and my culture. But in globalism, everything is multiculturalism, right? It's all cultures blend into one. Nobody has a particular national pride in any particular thing. And they can kind of that means they can accept all other cultures. Okay? So in other words, if, I'm blended in with 50 other cultures at one time, I wouldn't feel uneasy or weird about that. Or if they were taking over my stuff, I wouldn't feel bad about that. So, some people might say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, I don't know if anything's wrong with that idea, but the truth is it goes against nature and it wouldn't work. Human beings are territorial. we are very, I don't want to say it, we're very culturally specific. Look all around the world. Every country has its own culture, its own pride. And we don't really like we'll mix with other cultures, but we don't really want to intermingle with them too much. Okay. Now the people who wanted to do all this globalism, they see that as a problem. So what do? They have to break up our national pride, right? How do they do that? By interjecting all these other cultures into our culture. And it's not just our country. Again, this is going on all around the world. Okay. So in America, if you reject migrants coming from all over the world, they call you a racist, a homophobe, xenophobe, whatever. Every single thing, you're a bad person. That's what they say. But the truth is, it's just natural to be that way because every other culture in the world does the exact same thing. You couldn't take 100,000 immigrants from America and interject them into the Middle East. What do you think that would do? It would be complete chaos. Well, if you want a perfect example of that, look what they do with the Jews. After World War II, they gave them the land of Israel. And it's been a hell of a fight over there ever since, okay? It just shows you that people in every culture are very culture specific. They do not want to share, and the truth is, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just nature, humans are like pack animals, we separate, we intermingle with other packs at certain times, but we're not looking to be overly friendly, and I don't see anything wrong with it. I really don't. Now, what do the globalists see wrong with that? Well, if they can't control the world, then they can't control all the money and have all the power, you see? And it's kind of, to me, it's kind of sick and twisted because, who needs to do all that? But that's the games these people play. That's what they're looking for, okay? So that's the zoomed out version of what's going on right now. So let's zoom in for a minute, okay? Let's take Ireland, okay? It's a country of 5 million people. They interjected, I believe, 250,000 Muslim immigrants into Ireland, and it's causing complete chaos over there. And you also have to ask yourself, why is it that it seems like all of a sudden, all around the world, everybody's bringing in all these migrants? Doesn't that seem kind of odd? Like everybody up at the top is kind of working together like, hey guys, let's all bring in the migrants now, and then we'll try to flush our societies full of all these other people, and we'll break down the culture so that we can, get everybody kind of out of their zone. That way we can go into all this multiculturalism and all this new world order stuff, and nobody will care. That's what they've been trying to do for the last 30 years. My brother was right. Okay? But right now, you're getting more pushback in the other direction than I've ever seen. And it all started with Donald Trump. You had a left agenda, but you got to remember, the whole liberal agenda is that world order. It's, peace and love for everybody, all cultures live together, And again, it sounds great. It's just not nature, man. It ain't going to work. We're secular societies. We don't want to do all that, and you can't force it. It creates constant unrest. Don't take my word for it. Look around the world. It's happening everywhere right now, okay? Look at England. They're battling it out over there. I honestly don't know how that's going to end over there. I don't see that ending good at all. There's over 2 million Muslims in England now. The migrants, they're fighting tooth and nail over there right now. They got gangs running around the streets, beating each other up, tearing things up. And I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they can deport people. I don't know if those people are just going to refuse to leave. I don't know. But it's a mess over there. Okay, it's way messier over there than it is over here. Because you got to understand something. Okay. In America, when we bring in migrants, we bring in, a lot of people from South America, Central America, the Mexicans, but to a certain degree, they already have similarities to our culture, right? They speak Spanish, we speak English, but there's a lot of intermingle in between that. A lot of people are bilingual. Um, you know, a lot of Christians in both, you know, North America, South America, a lot of Christians. So when they come here, the religion's usually close to the same, which is, again, that's common ground. Um, but it's a lot different in Europe. You know, it's a lot different in Ireland. You're basically mixing cultures or trying to mix cultures that are completely opposite of each other, completely opposite. And it's just not working. It's complete unrest. Um, Poland just got a new leader, was just elected this week, and he was a big Trump supporter, and so you're starting to see what you're really starting to see is the pendulum swing in the other direction. But the way that I see it is the left and the global order and all that UN running the world type of stuff. That has been in play for the last 30 years. They've been trying to get it to work, little step by little step by little step. And I think it just hit a wall. I think it hit the wall when Donald Trump came into power. And think about that. Think about why they fought him so hard with so much drama constantly. And you would just sit back and wonder why do these people hate him so much? Because Donald Trump is blowing up 30 to 40 years of plans from Europe to the United States to all these global elites trying to consolidate their power by crushing all these different cultures and blending them into like a no culture society so that it could just rule the world that way. It sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, that's what's been going on. And he just blew it all up. And now leaders around the world and populations around the world are starting to look at Donald Trump, and they want more of that now. They want more. He's, everybody says, oh, other countries and stuff are embarrassed by Donald Trump. That's not true. A lot of other populations love him. They're in the streets chanting about him because they want a Donald Trump. They want somebody to pull them out of their lefty, weirdo, society that they're trying to make, and they don't want it. They want to be, proud, of whatever country they're from, that just like we are here. Okay, that's what they want, and that's what we want. It's really, I mean, if you think about it, it's really it's a twisted type of thinking to want to do that to the world. You know what I mean? You're upsetting everybody's culture. You're creating unrest on purpose to break societies down. It's really a terrible way of thinking, but it has been the plan for years and years, and now it's falling apart. And I love it. I do. I love it. I'm a nationalist. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, you're a white nationalist. You know what that means? You know what a nationalist actually is? A person who puts their own country first. That's what it means. Look it up. I'm white. Yes, I'm a white guy, and I want to put my country first. So I'm a white nationalist. I got no problem with that. You know what I mean? They tried, and even think about that. They've tried to make that a bad word. You're a nationalist. You're a nationalist. Only the lefty cuckoos say that as a bad word. Nationalist actually just means you put your country first. You put your country's ideas first. You put your country's culture first. You're going to fight for your country first. That's all that means. Okay? If you got a problem with that, then you're a moron. That's just the truth. I mean, this is the soil and the ground I was born on. I love this soil. I love this ground. I was born here. I'm going to die here. That's it. Everybody in the world should feel the same about their culture and where they live. And if you don't feel that way about your culture, then you got some problems. You do. But anyways, so, you take the zoomed in view, then you can look at all the riots, all over the country. It hasn't gotten really bad here because, Americans are relatively civil. You look around the world, it's gotten worse. It's worse than it is here. They're fighting everywhere. and again, it's the pendulum swinging in the other direction. It swung to the left for the last 30 years. They've been fighting to try to get it there, and it's failing now, and that's good news. Now it's going to swing to the right. I hope it doesn't swing too far. I just want it to swing kind of towards the right in the middle. That means everybody will have some common sense. You know what I mean? We're not getting too extreme. You don't want to go to the extreme left. You don't want to go to the extreme right. You want to kind of stay in the middle of things and ideas. That's where acceptance comes from, is the middle. Because on the left and on the far right, there's no acceptance. You know what I mean? That's the battle of the two fascists. That's what that is. You know, the left is always trying to complain, oh, the right's a bunch of fascists. What the left does is they'll stir up a bunch of trouble, cause a bunch of chaos, and then when the right tries to correct it with the police or the military, then they stand back and go, oh my God, they're authoritarian, they're beating the people. But they set it up to be that way, you know. So, you know, there's this constant battle back and forth between the two sides. But you got to keep the extreme left out. You got to keep the extreme right out, and you got to try to stay right in the middle. That's where peace and harmony exists. But yeah, so you know, it's interesting, man. You know, I thought this stuff was gonna start dying down, but then you know you got the No Kings protests, and that's just ridiculous. I mean, you know, give me a break. You know, I didn't even do a show on that because to me it's absurd and it's silly. If you're that much of a simpleton where you're out there protesting, talking about no kings, then you're a moron. Again, you're just a moron. I can't talk to you because you're not going to understand anything. But anyways, guys, you know, when you put it all into perspective, I just think this maybe the last 5 years and probably the next 5 years is going to be the end of globalism. I really do, and I'm glad. Look, we can all trade. We can, you know, make each other's countries rich, and we can be allies and do all that stuff. That's great. But we want individual identity. We want our national pride. We want to know where we live and what we stand for. And you know what? Every other country in the world wants that too, and they deserve it. You know, if you're a Middle Eastern and you live in the Middle East and that's what that's your pride and that's what you feel, then be proud of it. If you live over here, you know, same thing. Be proud of it. Be proud of your flag, your culture. That's what it is. If you live in Europe, same thing. You know, them throwing all these multicultural migrants and bringing all these other people in and dumping them on top of everybody, I don't think it's going to stand much longer. You know, I hope that before it gets too out of hand, you know, they'll start reversing this stuff. The United States is already trying. They are. Donald Trump's fighting like hell. You know, it's not about racism or any of that stuff, man. It's about, this is American culture. You want to come here, become American. Don't come here and bring your culture here. You know what I mean? You know, if you're a Mexican and you come into America, become an American. You see all these riots going on right now. The dumbest thing those people could do is they're running around in the streets waving the Mexican flag in America. You know what Americans think when they see that? It's disgusting. It is. That's the dumbest thing anybody could do. But hey, man, let them be dumb. But anyways, guys, thanks for tuning into my show. I'll get back to you soon. I'll talk to you later. Have a good night.